Alright, so I'm going to be breaking down the new single I just released, Naivete. This has a lot, if you can't tell, goes into it. There's 24 different tracks. That's not a massive amount, but there's quite a bit to go into it. So the song uh, opens up with this pad. It's quite strange because, unlike most of the other music I make, uh, the pad's not multiple layers, it's just one pad. So we'll break this down. It's I'm not gonna update this now. It's decent sampler pad. It's a Venus Theories or Isometra library. He made it basically using an Arteria. I think it's a polybrute or something like that. We have this going to a vocal doubler, and then crystalline, which is a top tier reverb in my opinion. It's max wet, but it's a very short reverb, I would say. We have a hollow delay with lower mix, but it's just quarter note delay, and then shimmer, of course. That's the kind of sauce to make it very ethereal sounding. So it sounds like this, of course. If you heard the single, you'd know. The actual chords are quite interesting, I would think. Pretty sure I wrote this in A minor. No, there's one sharp here. Not really sure what key I wrote this in. That doesn't matter though. Uh, this is like a C. I think I wrote it in C minor because we start on the C minor chord here. So yeah, usually I don't use entire four chords, but I felt like that helped with the very long progression of the intro. So that's what I did here. The next sound that's in this ambient kind of segment, or like the ambient section, I guess, if we were thinking like orchestras, is this ARP, this thing. So this ARP is very simple. We have a MIDI arpeggiator. It just goes up. These are the settings I use for it. It's not going to be, I don't ever really use this enough, I feel like, but I use it here. Surge XT, just using the initial saw. Not really doing anything else except that. Maybe cutoff modulation, I think actually. Hold up, let me look back. Yeah, it seems that there's cutoff and shape modulation from here. From LFO1, which is random. It's like a sample and hold type thing. So that might be important. We just have a phaser. It's a fast phaser on here, but it's kind of hard to hear it because the delay and reverb. We have a tape delay, it's just ping pong, and then we have supermassive doing some short, like medium sized reverb, I guess. The other thing is it's basically following the chords for the most part, I think. This is a longer pattern, so I have to scroll out. Yeah, it seems like it is following the chords, but the second time there's like a variation. If you see, and that variation helps with the progression of it, so the intro is not as boring. And then the next thing we have here, I'll get into the filter buildup later. We have this Atmos 30. It's just a random background noise. It says Atmos 30. That's just what the first sample I put in was titled, but it's just random ambient samples. Like we have this right here. Kind of spooky. Besides the sample, it's just max wetness on Valhalla plate. I think it's actually just this preset, just the way it is. I might be wrong on that. So yeah. Then we have this, which is a way later towards the end, I would say. And it's just forest ambience, I think. Or it's some sort of ambience. I don't remember if it's forest specifically. If you look here, it's basically the same thing, except it's distorted a little bit. It's supposed to... I use like the vinyl saturator preset to make it sound older in Fat Filter Saturn, but we also have vintage verb. So yeah, there's that. And then we have the second ARP. Sounds like this. And kind of restarts. I think this is also just a preset. This is the gate chord sequence preset in Surge. You have the 3-band EQ like this. There wasn't really much low end, or as that much low end where we basically shelved it because we didn't need to cut it completely, and we kind of boosted the highs a little bit. And we have the sweeping resonant filter, which is kind of sweeping along here. We have the hollow delay doing the ping pong thing, just like on the other sequence. And then we have the this here, very strange EQ, but it felt right when I did that, so that's how that is. And then we have the ambient bus track. So like, this is a busy part here, so I'll just play it here. Side chaining, but before I get more into that, I forgot, like I said, to do the filter buildup. It's just a preset in Surge again. Sounds like this. So all that is just a high pass on the filter buildup preset. So yeah, so now we can actually get into the bus track like I was about to. So it's chorus, Kilohertz chorus. I don't really use this as much anymore, but this is an older track that I just recently released it. So slow rate, a high depth, just to make it sound more watery and less rotaty or rotary. We have Uber mod, max, just to make the sound wider, because it makes sound wider now. I have another sweeping filter doing stuff for all the ambient stuff. Then we have the sidechain compression. Then we got this thing, this ECQ, just cut out low end and shelf a little bit of the high end. So we're gonna get into the other melodic elements, and then we'll get to the drum and bass. So the synth bend is what we call this. It's portamento bass, which is what gives it the bendy sound, and it only comes in every once in a while on certain parts, mostly like as a transitional element. But here's how it sounds by itself. So yeah, it's pretty low in volume because any louder and it hurts. So I don't want that to happen to audience. Here it's just this preset in Vital, actually. That's all it is. But I modified it so that it's mono instead of poly and has a little bit of portamento on it. So that's all that is there. Here we can get up to the transition so you can hear it. So that sounds like, and then we have keys at some point in the song, I think. There's a keys track, yep, right here. So for a second it does follow the synth bend, but we'll hear. There's a lot of, it's a little detuned and it's a little like messed up, jank sounding. So we have decent sampler again for the like Arturia key sound, and then we have the it's a pitch duck with the fifth pitch shift, so it's 7 semitones just about, with a little detune on the delay signal, and it's ducking at around 40%. That's kind of important. So that's everything is to just get too cloudy, but and also that's what the filtering is for right here, and that's why it's pretty mid heavy. So yeah, this, it's kind of why it sounds a little detuned, because it's also playing fifths, and then we have this here. Just, I guess it cuts off low end, and I don't really automate it for that. So that's the keys. I'm gonna see if there's any other things. Nope. All right. So next we have this vocal sample towards the end. This is SP096. That is the crying man you hear at the end of the song. Right, this track, you can already kind of tell what it's supposed to be based off of, well, what you heard in the outro for the new single, but also, I mean, I kind of abbreviated that. Yeah. The vocal, it's called vocal time. I like to get a little, like, ironic with my track naming, but it's just a reverb and vocal delay send, or delay reverb send, spacey vocal delay preset, and just small haul, just to make it sound oh, and it's only for the SP096, because this one has a lot of other processing. It's got this. It's supposed to be around 300 hertz with a lot of resonance. That's what gives it the very muffly sound, almost like it's going, like you're hearing it through a wall. With some small, very fast reverb, you know, because you're hearing the echoes bounce. Cutting out low end and boosting a little bit more like the frequencies you hear when people speak. And I just put a limiter on it because it was just to make it like pretty quiet. So yeah, that's all that. The bass is kind of like, it sounds cool, but it's really boring actually. It's 2 layers, mid and like low layer. Sounds like this. So let's break this down, right? So we have this here. This is the main Reese. It's a pretty monstrous sound. Got a little bit of that. It's a preset I named in vinyl called Monster, and it's a lot of randomization on a lot of parameters, basically. It's a very unique Reese, I think. This is, the preset itself is really cool, but I really couldn't explain to you like all the different things that went into it, because I made this preset forever ago. But yeah, there's a lot to it. And yeah, like I said, we just cut off some little sub frequencies here. And then the upper layer is not as interesting. It is quite literally, pretty sure, just, yep, it's just a super detuned saw wave with 4 different voices, some distortion, compression, and EQ. And yeah, that's literally it on that. And just cutting off 100 hertz on there, so it's more mid, so like 150 should be like kind of where it lies in. As far as the bus processing, wait, hold up. There we go. Okay. Just made this where everything below 100 hertz is mono, sidechain compression, and this just slightly modified Reaper EQ preset. The drums, this is probably the best part of the entire track, undoubtedly. It's a lot, you can see here. So let's start with the main elements. We got the breaks. That's kind of is what makes the breaks is kind of what makes my use. I don't want to say it makes my music unique, but it is a very stylistic element in the sound that I have. So we have these two breaks layered together. So you can kind of hear what they are. It's pretty much an amen and a think break. Let me expand. So hold up. Yeah. So think break and it's an amen. So the way I process them is on the amen, we have Fat Filter Saturn with some multiband distortion or saturation, and an EQ, cutting off a lot of low end and boosting the highs. And then we got break 2, which is think break. It's also some multiband saturation and a very light delay, just in cutting off some sort of sub frequencies on the delayed signal, but that doesn't really matter because the whole entire thing is getting cut very similarly, if not exactly the same as the amen break. And in the actual breaks parent folder, it's OTT with low depth. And then we got this preset on Fat Filter Saturn, and then we got Nani distortion for reasons. I'm using this character on there. And this is the EQ on there, boosting to 200 hertz and the like 10K. So we've got a little bit of snare and hi-hat, being more audible. Next is the kick. I think it says 9000 kick. So yeah, it's the 9000 kick. It comes from a Lindrum sample pack. Not really sure why it's named 9000, but the kick sounds like this by itself. So essentially, it's the kick shaper preset on Fat Filter Saturn on that sample, and this EQ to boost the body of the kick and cut toward the bass should be, and kind of attenuating the click of the kick. And then the snare, it's another Lindrum from the same Lindrum sample pack, the 9000 snare. It's Valhalla delay, but like it's a snare doubler. It's a lower mix. It's a snare doubler preset for lower mix, so it sounds a little bit wider, but isn't just completely wet and muddy. And that's the EQ. I didn't really need to high pass around 100 hertz here for this one, so I didn't. So there's that. We have the percussion. It sounds like this. It's a 9000 rim actually, and you can hear there's delay on it. So that's basically it. Just 9000 rim with delay at half mix. It's a very syncopated rhythm of sorts. So it's that, and then the effects is in here for some reason. I don't know why I did this for the longest time, but here we have this reverse cymbal and an impact. And I did a bunch of just random effects throughout, just to some of them the same as others, just to keep consistency and add ambience to the overall sound song. And then the last thing we have here is the room. Saturated the send before the reverb. It's really important. It's at least to this song, it's very important. It's what makes the like room reverb a lot different sounding. It's a punchy drums preset. I think I might have tempo synced it. I don't remember. And I think, yeah, we sidechained the send, so that way the reverb wouldn't get in the way as much. We're gonna do a last listen through of here, and then go ahead, call it that. So, here we go. So yeah, that's the entire song basically. That of no single. I broke it down track by track. I didn't cover absolutely everything because that'd be a very long video, but I covered essentially the basic ideas of each different segments or each of the different tracks sounds that are used. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this and tune in for the next one. See ya.